So I was thinking today we'll start off with 16 personalities. When I first took this test many years ago, I got INTJ. I think 2 years later I got INTJ, and we're going to have another go again today. See what we get. It's interesting how consistent it's been, and maybe this will give you guys a bit of insights into my personality as it is. I find it very interesting. I'm going to post my results in Discord later. Anyway, let's get started. Be yourself and be honest about your personality type. And that includes, like, if you are conflicted about something, at least do your ratio towards what you may be conflicted about. So you regularly make new friends. I would disagree with that. Complex and novel ideas excite you more than simple and straightforward ones. Complex and new ideas. Yeah, they can. Definitely. I always have new ideas about stuff. Um, Always excited to try out new things, for sure. You usually feel more persuaded by what resonates emotionally with you than factual arguments. Definitely not. Persuaded by what resonates emotionally. Then again, there are times when I can get emotional about certain topics, but mostly, no, the factual arguments will win 9 times out of 10. So I would very strongly disagree with that. Your living and working spaces are clean and organized. Kind of in the middle on that, because it can go both ways. I'm very organized and clean in some areas and very disorganized and unclean in others. So that's just whatever, bit of both. You usually stay calm even under a lot of pressure. I think I can, even though I might be dying on the inside. But I'm not exactly calm, I guess. Maybe a little. I'll just go a little. You find the idea of networking or promoting yourself to strangers very daunting. Definitely, I rarely ever network, and I kind of, in a way, I hate promoting myself. It just, I don't know what it is. I just don't really like self-promotion. It feels dirty, it feels kind of like that. Next questions. You prioritize and plan tasks effectively, often contemplating them well before the deadline. Yeah, I used to, throughout my studies and everything, I would often have them done the very night I would get them. Like, I shit you not, no matter how big the assignment was, 1,000-word essays, or, you know, unless it was some crummy arts and crafts thing that I had to go shopping for, it would take a couple of days, but otherwise, yeah, it would just, it'd be done the same day, mostly. So, yeah, well before the deadline. People's stories and emotions speak louder than numbers or data. No, the numbers and the data. The numbers are facts. That is truth. It is what it is. You like to use organize. You like to use organizing tools like schedules and lists. I used to. I mean, no. Organizing tools like schedules and lists. It depends. I very rarely make a list. I only make a list if I'm gonna forget stuff. But no, usually I'll just be like 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the things I need, and just go with that. So I'm gonna go disagree. Even a small mistake can cause you to doubt your overall abilities and knowledge. For sure. Yeah, one of these two. I don't know how strongly I agree with it though. Probably a little less these days, maybe like a little bit. Uh, but I've known recently people can overlook things all the time. No matter how much knowledge you have in you, we're all human, we all make mistakes. So I would just say a little bit these days. You feel comfortable just walking up to someone you find interesting and striking up conversation? No. You are not too interested in discussions about various interpretations of creative works. Interpretations of like art and stuff. Yeah, I would say I'm not too interested, but I'm going one point down because sometimes I enjoy those rare documentaries that talk about certain very niche artistic works, film, mostly film, not so much literature or sculpture or other artworks. So just for the sake of film, I'm going one lower on that. You prioritize facts over people's feelings when determining a course of action. Yeah, pretty much. People can think whatever they can think, but the facts at the end of the day. You often allow the day to unfold without any schedule at all. Yeah, because again, I don't keep a list, I don't really keep a schedule, I don't do any of that. You really worry about whether you make a good impression on people you meet. Rarely, so it's like a negative, you know? You rarely worry about making a good impression, so I would disagree. Uh, like I try to make a good impression on people the first time. Don't know, I would say I do worry a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. You enjoy participating in team-based activities. Again, it depends. It depends on the activity. Like, are we talking like games or something? Or are we talking assignments? Because assignments can be a team-based activity and then they're god awful. So I would say for the most part, probably no. A medium no. You enjoy experimenting with new and untested approaches. Yeah, yeah. Uh, Depends what it is, again. But for the most part, if there's something new, untested, you got to do it for science, you know. You got to give it a crack for science. You prioritize being sensitive over being completely honest. For the most part, I am blindly honest, so no. Um, though these days I have toned it down a bit. I try to be more sensitive, but for the most part, still no. You actively seek out new experiences and knowledge areas to explore. Neither here nor there. Um, I don't actively seek out, but I do engage in when they crop up. Um, I don't know. I like a lot of random documentaries too. So exploring new areas and topics, I've got like a very broad range of interests. So it's kind of complicated, this one. Actively seek out new experiences and knowledge areas to explore. Neither here nor there. You are prone to worrying that things will take a turn for the worse. Yeah, sort of like a medium, yes. What's it, Murphy's Law? If it can go wrong, it will go wrong. You enjoy solitary hobbies or activities more than group ones. It's a very strong yes, but like I'm still thinking, do I prefer solo activities or group ones? I don't know. I like people's company sometimes, you know? So like That's a tough one. So I'd probably say yeah. I mean, I guess I just have to go yes. Can't think of any reasons against it. You cannot imagine yourself writing fictional stories for a living. I did once upon a time, but then I sort of realized what I would write is things that I've already sort of covered, things that I've already gone into. So you cannot imagine yourself writing fictional stories for a living. Yeah, I can no longer imagine that. You favor efficiency in decisions even if it is disregarding some emotional aspects. Yes. You prefer to do your chores before allowing yourself to relax. Usually, yeah, and I usually get everything out of the way all at once. If I have a bunch of chores, I get them all done. Just batch process that shit. Just get it done. So I definitely agree with that. In disagreements, you prioritize proving your point over preserving the feelings of others. Yeah, like a medium disagree. I don't care how you feel about it. The cold hard facts are just facts. You usually wait for others to introduce themselves first at social gatherings. Yes. Your mood can change very quickly. Um, Trying to think of some examples. Your mood could change very quickly. So it's also about interpreting the question too, right? Because there are occasions where it can change really quickly, depending on the scenario. So saying that it can, a very weak agree on that point then, because your mood can change very quickly. I guess a very weak agree. You are not easily swayed by emotional arguments. Absolutely agree. You often end up doing things at the last possible moment. I would, I think I would disagree with that. But this is complicated because I'm always told I'm leaving things to the last minute. So actually, that's kind of a yes. But I'm going to go one notch down because I will often do things beforehand, but then there are some things that I always just, I have an order, I have like a process, so I'll like do it at the last possible moment when it's most efficient, if that makes sense. You enjoy debating ethical dilemmas? Oh, yeah, for sure. Usually prefer to be around others than on your own. Depends, sort of like time on and time off, so it's neither here nor there. You become bored or lose interest when discussion gets highly theoretical. No, I love theoreticals. When facts and feelings conflict, you usually find yourself following your heart. No, no, I just medium disagree on that. You find it challenging to maintain a consistent work or study schedule. You find it challenging to maintain. I would say a disagree, but a weak one because it depends on a few things. Because I've been in situations where I had a very difficult time balancing work life, but then I've had other times. So what does that mean? Work or study schedule. So it's either or. A work schedule. So I'd say a weak disagree then, because if it's a study schedule, I can usually stick to it. I'm usually pretty okay with coming up with some kind of schedule and sticking to it. You rarely second guess the choices that you have made. I'm going to do a medium disagree. Sometimes I do second guess the choices I made, or fairly often, which is the opposite of this, so a medium disagree. Your friends would describe you as lively and outgoing. No. You are drawn to various forms of creative expression such as writing. No. You usually base your choices on objective facts rather than emotional impressions. Yes. You like to have a to-do list for each day. It's neither here nor there. I mean, if I have one, I have one. If I don't, I don't. But I like to have one. It's neither here nor there. It doesn't matter to me. You rarely feel insecure. Um, Depends. The world is taking a bad turn, I think, and every year it gets a little harder. So you rarely feel insecure. Again, it's a negative, right? So it's like, do I feel insecure? More and more so, I would say. So I'm going to disagree lightly to that. You avoid making phone calls at all costs. You enjoy exploring unfamiliar ideas and viewpoints. Yeah. You can easily connect with people you have just met. Depends on the person. I've got a recent story about this actually, um, which I can bounce ideas off. I find it easier to connect with people I've just met, but I find it harder to maintain those connections as time goes on. That's what I think. So, usually agree, because I tend to bounce energy off of other people. So, I tend to match them, if that makes sense. So, usually, yeah. If your plans are interrupted, your top priority is to get back on track as soon as possible. I can't think of the last time I had a plan. There is no spoon. I mean, there is no plan. But if they were interrupted, I would want to get back on track as soon as possible. Let's do a medium agree then. Just a medium. You are still bothered by mistakes that you made a long time ago. Not so much anymore. Uh, that's complicated though. I've made a lot of mistakes like anyone has in their life, and am I still bothered by them? Not really. I mean, I sleep at night, so I'd say no. A solid medium no. You are not too interested in discussing theories on what the world could look like in the future. No, I'd always love talking about what the future would look like. I'd disagree with that. Your emotions control you more than you control them. Um, Again, let's do a medium no. Because again, I tend to be fairly in control of my emotions. But there are some times when the emotion carries a lot of weight and it makes you act accordingly. So I'm going to do a medium no. When making decisions, you focus more on how the affected people might feel than what is most logical or efficient. So I would a solid medium disagree to that. Because there are some scenarios in which how the people feel changes the outcome, and therefore the logical and efficient way may involve how they feel. So it's part of the consideration. So do I focus more on how they feel? No, but I still take it into consideration. That's why it's like a medium no. Step 9 of 10, 2 more rounds. Your personal work style is closer to spontaneous bursts of energy than organized and consistent efforts. No, I can do pretty organized, consistent efforts. There are periods of downtime when you're doing stuff, but otherwise I'd say it is very continuous. When someone thinks highly of you, you wonder how long it would take them to feel disappointed in you. Um, Kinda, yeah. Because I feel like when someone thinks they know me, they don't. And there is a period upon which I'm like, they're going to be disappointed. Eventually, they're going to be really disappointed. So I'm going to go with a medium, yeah. When someone thinks highly of you, you wonder how long it would take them to feel disappointed, yeah. You would love a job that requires you to work alone most of the time. Sure. Working with other people, no, I'm happy to work alone. You believe that pondering abstract philosophical questions is a waste of time. I like doing it, but do I believe it's a waste of time? Maybe a tiny bit. Or am I on the fence on this? Um, I don't think it's a waste of time, but I also don't think it's a useful use of time. I'm too conflicted on that, so I'm in the middle. You feel more drawn to busy, bustling atmospheres than quiet, intimate places. No, no, I prefer the quiet, nice places. Even if it's like in a busy city, finding that quiet coffee corner is so nice. You know, cars going by, barely anyone around, sun shining, it's nice. If a decision feels right to you, you often act on it without needing further proof. So this is like intuition, really. If the decision feels right to you, you often act on it without needing further proof. This is complicated because I love the facts and figures, but quite often I usually lead by intuition as well. So I'm going to go with a medium agree. So while facts and figures play a role, I often do what feels right, for sure. You often feel overwhelmed. Not very often, no. Um, I would just say in general, I have a lot of blind spots, and those blind spots really make it so that I'm not overwhelmed. So I rarely ever feel overwhelmed at all. I'm gonna go medium now then. You complete things methodically without skipping over any steps. No, no, I often skip steps in things. Just get to the point, get to the end of the thing, just do the thing. You prefer tasks that require you to come up with creative solutions rather than follow concrete steps. I, uh, mm, that's complicated because Again, like I do like a creative solution, but I like concrete steps too, neither here nor there. You're more likely to rely on emotional intuition than logical reasoning when making a choice. This is too difficult because, like, I do both. Like I mentioned before about I lead by intuition, but I also do logical reasoning. I really can't answer this, but sit on the fence. I do what feels right with logic and reasoning behind it, which is a complicated mix, you know. You struggle with deadlines. I have. I don't think I've ever struggled with a deadline. Have I ever been late on anything? Um, I think only one time, but I didn't think it was that important. And if I gave it no importance, it's no wonder I let it lapse. I didn't care. Uh, so in that particular situation, but everything else, I've never struggled with deadlines. You feel confident that things will work out for you. You feel confident that things will work out for you. It kind of sounds like hope in a way. And I don't really believe in hope much. And so I'm not confident that things will work out for me. They just are what they are. So is that conflicted? So what would be the opposite? Sometimes you got to phrase it in the opposite to understand it. You feel conflicted that things will work out for you. You feel confident that things won't work out for you. Because that would be the opposite. You feel confident that things won't work out for you. That's very pessimistic when you phrase it like that. And this is quite optimistic. Uh, Neither here nor there. I really can't answer this because I really can't say. Now for the magic result, let's see what we get. Oh man, every time. Every time. I love how good this is. It's so it's so good. Like I barely ever shift in my INTJ T. INTJ T. T is turbulent. Yeah, and it was always just a little bit turbulent. So let's go through the breakdown. So thought constitutes the greatness of man. Man is a reed, the feeblest thing in nature, but he is a thinking reed. As an INTJ architect, you possess a rare combination of vision and pragmatism. Your analytical mind constantly seeks to understand the world around you, driven by an insatiable curiosity and a desire to improve systems and ideas. You approach life with a strategic mindset, always looking several steps ahead and planning for various contingencies. Your independent nature is one of your defining characteristics. You value your autonomy and often prefer to work alone, trusting your own judgment and abilities above all else. This self-reliance combined with your intellectual prowess allows you to tackle complex problems with confidence and innovation. If you guys have taken this test, I would love to hear your discussions about it. Put yours down in the comments. Like, I'd love to read how you came about it, what you think about your personality type, and how much of a book do you think this reads into you? I find the whole topic interesting, discovering parts about yourself. So the personality breakdown. 90% introverted. You likely prefer fewer yet deep and meaningful social interactions and feel drawn to calmer environments. Definitely. Absolutely. Intuitive. You're likely very imaginative and open-minded, focusing on hidden meanings and distant possibilities. Thinking. You likely focus on objectivity and rationality, putting effectiveness above social harmony. Judging. It's gone down a little bit. I'm very borderline on judging. You're likely organized, decisive, and thorough, valuing structure and planning over spontaneity. And then there's an extra one they threw in: turbulent or assertive. You're likely self-conscious, sensitive to stress, success-driven, perfectionist, and eager to improve. So I wonder what the assertive side of things are. Probably more confident, because self-conscious means, it's part of being a perfectionist. You're always second guessing yourself. You're always thinking and rethinking about things. Are you sure you did this right? Are you certain about these things? So that's where the turbulent side comes through, and even that's pretty borderline. But definitely a thinking introvert. While your rational approach to life serves you well in many situations, it can sometimes create challenges in your personal relationships. You may find emotional expressions and social niceties puzzling or unnecessary. So true. Preferring direct communication and logical discussions. This tendency can make you appear aloof or detached to others, even when you care deeply. Your pursuit of knowledge and improvement is relentless. You have high standards for yourself and others, always striving for efficiency and effectiveness in all areas of life. This drive for perfection can be both a strength and a weakness, pushing you to achieve great things but also potentially leading to stress and burnout if not managed carefully. Your career path. In your personal life, you thrive on intellectual challenges and the opportunity to implement your innovative ideas. You excel in roles that allow you to utilize your strategic thinking and problem-solving skills, often gravitating towards fields like science, technology, or business strategy. Your ability to see the big picture while also attending to crucial details makes you a valuable asset in any organization. However, your preference for working independently and your dislike for office politics can sometimes hinder your career progression. Very true. Learning to navigate social dynamics and communicate your ideas effectively to others is crucial for your professional growth. Your unique insights are most valuable when they can be implemented, which often requires collaboration and buy-in from others. In other words, people have to buy what you're trying to sell, pick up what you're putting down. Perfectionism. Your tendency to set high standards for yourself and others, often striving for flawlessness in your work and personal life. Oh, this is influential traits, this other parts. Ambition. Okay. So you can go further, unlock this stuff. My strengths, innovative mindset. Your ability to see possibilities others overlook often helps to you find smarter solutions and effective improvements at work. Conceptual thinking. You'll effortlessly grasp abstract, complex ideas, making you particularly suited to roles that require strategic analysis and long-term planning. Objective judgment. Your capacity to make impartial decisions based on facts rather than favoritism or personal bias earns respect and trust from your colleagues. Independent worker. Your talent for working productively on your own allows you to manage tasks effectively without the need for constant direction or supervision. Continuous improvement. Your natural focus on refining work processes and spotting inefficiencies, consistently improving project outcomes wherever you go. If they'll let me implement it, like goddamn. Reliable performance. When entrusted with critical tasks, you consistently deliver precise, high-quality results, making you a valued and dependable asset. But then there's the weaknesses. Discomfort with networking. Your aversion to promoting yourself or making connections can limit career advancement opportunities, hiding your true worth from others, ignoring social dynamics. You tend to neglect office politics and informal social interactions, possibly missing cues or causing unintended misunderstandings. Quite a bit. Overly blunt feedback. In your pursuit of truth and efficiency, you may deliver criticisms of ways that unintentionally demotivate or upset sensitive colleagues. Frustration with constraints. You. I've never seen this word before. You chafe? Chafe? Let me Google this. What the hell is this?
Chafe.
Chafe? Is there another definition? A state of annoyance is the archaic noun. You chafe at rules or procedures you deem pointless. Yes. Potentially straining relationships with supervisors or organizational hierarchy. Normally, yeah. If I know a better way to do it, I'll usually do it my way. That's very true. Reluctance to delegate tasks. Believing strongly in your own abilities, you often hesitate to entrust responsibilities to others, leading to stress or unnecessarily workload. The thing is, if I was to run a business, I know that you have to offload some of that stuff to other people. So there's definitely things that I would rather other people do that I am not good at, that I would rather them do. I can definitely offload some stuff. Impatience with routine. You often feel restless when assigned tasks that seem repetitive or mundane, leading to occasional lapses in your attention or motivation. Yeah. Your personal growth. Your path to personal growth is paved with intellectual pursuits and self-reflection. You're constantly seeking to expand your knowledge and improve your skills, driven by an internal desire for mastery. This quest for self-improvement often leads you to explore diverse subjects and challenge your own assumptions, fostering a rich inner life. Yet, true personal growth for you also involves developing your emotional intelligence and interpersonal skills. While it may feel uncomfortable at first, learning to recognize and express your emotions, as well as understanding those of others, can greatly enhance your relationships and overall life satisfaction. Balancing your logical approach with emotional awareness is key to becoming a well-rounded individual. We've already been through some of these, or this other one's. Oh, there's more. So you got more strengths and more weaknesses. Too rigid expectations, strict personal standards often make you overly self-critical and cause unnecessary stress when you inevitably fall short of perfection. Yeah. I could go into more. Does this lead? Oh, this is personal growth. Self-directed learning, obviously. Openness to challenging ideas. Yeah. If confronted with convincing and rational arguments, hey, you give me a convincing and rational argument for anything, I'm on board. Absolutely. Clarity of purpose, efficiency in pursuing goals without distraction, reflective insight, always looking back on things, changes in myself, my own behavior, that sort of stuff. Self-disciplined approach, yep. Resilient determination, yep. Weaknesses though, avoiding emotional exploration. Yeah, not really in touch with my emotional side. The perfection one, discomfort with ambiguity. You prefer clarity and foreseeability, making it difficult to comfortably adapt when life presents ambiguous or uncertain scenarios. Yeah, and everyone is afraid of the unknown, right? Hesitant to seek support. Your preference for solving all problems independently makes seeking advice or support challenging, limiting your personal development. Yeah. Reluctant to celebrate progress. Always eyeing the next milestone. You rarely pause to appreciate achievements or reflect positively on how far you've come. there's been a couple of milestones in life where I've like wanted to celebrate for real, like actually have like a small party or gathering or something. But I don't know. They were important milestones for me, but they weren't really that important for others. I don't know. It's complicated. Neglecting leisure or rest. Your drive for productivity and achievement may sometimes cause you to overlook the importance of rest, relaxation, and sustainable pacing. Yeah, it can. And then the interesting one, your relationships. In your relationships, you value depth, authenticity, and intellectual connection above all else. You seek partners and friends who can engage in meaningful conversations and appreciate your unique perspective on the world. Your loyalty and commitment run deep, even if you don't always express your feelings openly. However, your tendency to prioritize logic over emotion can create challenges in your personal connections. You may struggle to understand or respond to others' emotional needs, and your direct communication style might sometimes come across as harsh or insensitive. Learning to balance your natural rationality with empathy and emotional expression is crucial for building and maintaining fulfilling relationships, whether romantic, friendly, or familial. Authentic sincerity, you build trust on you. Your honest and genuine interactions make your connections deep, real, and stable. Quietly caring, even though you avoid dramatic displays of affection. Those close to you cherish your subtle yet meaningful gestures and of care and thoughtfulness. Respecting autonomy, you naturally recognize and encourage others' independence, allowing freedom and personal space that most people truly value. Insightful advice. Friends and partners appreciate your unique wisdom and analytical perspective, especially when facing difficult decisions. Selective loyalty. Once you've established trust with someone, you dedicate unwavering support and steadfast commitment to that person over the long term. Meaningful conversations. People who engage with you enjoy stimulating and intellectual enriching discussions that feel worthwhile and rewarding. But the weaknesses, insensitive to emotions, your rational nature can lead you to unintentionally overlook or undervalue emotional signals, leaving others feeling unheard or misunderstood. Withdrawn under stress, when life becomes challenging or confusing, your instinct to isolate yourself may unintentionally distance you from people who care. Yeah, it's happened. Critical communication. Occasionally harsh or overly direct remarks, though well intended, might unintentionally wound others, damaging trust or closeness. Avoiding social rituals. Dislike of small talk or expected social gestures sometimes makes you appear aloof or indifferent to friends or acquaintances. Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of social cues and gestures that I tend to not pick up on. You know how they say like when a girl is interested in you, there's like subtle signs they try to drop. I am worse than most guys at that. Like it's just over my head. I don't see it at all. Like it's doubly worse than. Have you seen that YouTube video? Is she into you? That that's so good. I should drop a link for that. It's actually worth watching. It's pretty well spot on. Difficulty sharing vulnerabilities. Your strong preference to appear competent and controlled can prevent authentic sharing of feelings, hindering emotional closeness. High relationship standards. Your specific criteria for friendship or partnership can lead to lasting dissatisfaction or frustration if your expectations aren't constantly met. It definitely has been hard, I would say, to find someone who meets the bar, if that makes sense. it's not like high standards. It's just like if my expectations are met. Well, quite often, I used to have a little quote about this, about when like disappointment happens when expectations do not meet reality. And then you become disappointed. But I see that in other people as well. Other people get disappointed when their expectations don't get met. They become upset or disappointed. And then yeah. So it's, just in some aspects, there are some things that, if you just use your logic and reasoning, more often than not, you'll meet my expectations. That's the way I look at it anyway. Story's complete. You can pay to go further. Architects you may know. Famous architects. Friedrich Nietzsche, Michelle Obama, Elon Musk, Christopher Nolan, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Colin Powell, Samantha Power, Walter White. I have been called Walter White by many a friend. That is me. Peter Baelish, Littlefinger, Tywin Lannister from Game of Thrones. So I'm apparently like Tywin. I actually haven't seen Game of Thrones yet, so I don't know. Yennefer of Vanderburg, the Witcher series. So I'm like Yennefer or Gandalf. I would totally be Gandalf. I would totally be. Let's say why? Why Gandalf? A calculating wizard, the Lord of the Rings personality series. I fear I am beyond your comprehension. Gandalf the White from the Two Towers. Few characters in literature are as enigmatic and intriguing as Gandalf. First the grey, and then the white. From J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings novels, his wisdom and guidance prove invaluable as he leads human, dwarf, elf, and hobbit alike on their journeys through Middle-earth. A loyal leader, this wizard strives to both protect and push his friends to stand up and fight for what they believe in. He has little patience for those who fail to use logical common sense, like Pippin, and doesn't hesitate to speak his mind if he feels it necessary. Fool of a took! Gandalf, the Fellowship of the Ring. Gandalf plays a vital role in saving Middle-earth from certain doom by helping his friends defeat Sauron and destroy the One Ring. Despite being a fierce warrior and a high-minded wizard, Gandalf retains a sense of humanness that is refreshingly comforting. Some may view him as vain and pretentious, and they are not wrong. These individuals, however, would be remiss if they failed to see that he does express compassion and empathy for others. As an assertive architect INTJ-A, Gandalf manifests these traits through a very different filter than his companions with the feeling traits. Personality analysis. A fictional wizard is certainly a bit more challenging to type than a human because they tend to be more abstract or deeper than most humans are to begin with, or even a hobbit. However, Gandalf's personality is powerfully portrayed through his interactions with others as well as through the skills and abilities that he possesses. Keep reading below to see why we have identified Gandalf as an assertive architect. Introverted, obviously. Intuitive. His intuitive personality is likely, at least partially, a result of Gandalf being an immortal wizard. This trait, combined with the thinking trait, results in a keen ability to strategize and piece together seemingly unrelated pieces of information into a cohesive plan. Gandalf, for example, is able to deduce that the ring Bilbo and subsequently Frodo possesses is actually the One Ring. He does this by witnessing Bilbo's behavior and following up on his hunch with years of in-depth research and inquests. Thinking, obviously. Judging, Gandalf exists for a specific reason, to ensure that good overcomes evil for the survival of the people, the elves, hobbits, and dwarves of Middle-earth. His mission is to assist in the defeat of Sauron, and he literally returns from the dead in order to complete his quest. Not fire, nor water, nor traitorous wizards, nor orc armies can prevent Gandalf from pushing his companions towards victory. He is wise, stubborn, and never gives up hope. When Denethor gives up on protecting Minas Tirith from Sauron's army, Gandalf does not hesitate to step in and lead the troops to victory. His ability to take control and restore order, to see a task through, is just one example of the power his judge personality trait. Assertive. No one to question his own knowledge or abilities, Gandalf is undoubtedly a confident, assertive individual. Being an immortal wizard with magical powers certainly plays a role in his self-assurance. You cannot pass. I am a servant of the secret fire, wielder of the flame of Anor. You cannot pass. The dark fire will not avail you. Flame of Udin, go back to the shadow. You cannot pass. Conclusions. Well, here at last. Well, here at last, dear friends, on the shores of the sea comes the end of our fellowship in Middle-earth. Go in peace. I will not say, do not weep, for not all tears are an evil. Cool. So that is why Gandalf, but you could also go deeper and go, why J. Gatsby? Gatsby's personality type, a boat against the current. Last week we asked you readers to tell us what personality type you think fits Jane Gatsby, the protagonist of the novel The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. In case you missed it, you can find the article here. The response we received was insightful and thought-provoking. Many of you saw Gatsby as an advocate, since he falls head over heels in love with Daisy and focuses on creating an ideal world for the two of them. Interesting. Many others thought Gatsby as an architect, a personality type known for analyzing and planning everything, but not necessarily for being great with emotions. Some of you suppose that he could be a prospecting personality, pointing out that his ability to spot opportunities leads him to become very wealthy very quickly. And if you guess that he's a commander or consul, since he can be charismatic and he likes to experience life. That's the thing. He doesn't really fit INTJ if he's an extrovert. But one of the things between extrovert and introvert that I tend to look at is how you, what is it? How you, um, like whether you enjoy it. Because some people can be extroverted and have moments where they're extroverted, and there's other times where extroverted people can be introverted, but it's which one gives you energy. So because I'm introverted, if I'm around a lot of people for a lot of time, I get really tired. It just wears me out and I just need some time alone, you know. And so because that's like my preferential natural state, that's what makes me an introvert. It is my preferred state for sure. And there are times I like to be social, there are times I like to socialize, but for the most part, just being alone re-energizes me. People who are extroverts get energized by the social situations. So, that's when it's a very different outcome for them because if they're sitting alone somewhere watching a movie by themselves, eventually they're just craving some attention, some conversation, some something. And so They go out and they seek people, friends, social groups, and always try to be part of the crowd, always being busy, you know? So here's why. So they went with him being introverted, intuitive. On the surface, Gatsby is quite caught up in materialism. He seems to measure his life by his possessions. It could be argued that if you use Daisy as a possession, oof, this may make him seem like a concrete, observant personality type. On the other hand, he also views his wealth and possessions as a necessary step towards his larger goals. Gatsby is a dreamer, constantly envisioning a better future for himself and focusing on what is possible rather than what is practical. Like many intuitive personalities, he often seems somewhat distracted or detached from what is happening around him. Nick can see Daisy's flaws, but Gatsby can't or won't. There must have been moments, even that afternoon, when Daisy tumbled short of his dreams, not through her own fault, but because of the colossal vitality of his illusion. It had gone beyond her, beyond everything. He had thrown himself into it with a creative passion, adding to it all the time, decking it out with every bright feather that drifted his way. This is a common challenge in architects' romantic relationships. They're always creating a world in their heads that is more perfect than reality, and they need their romantic partners to fit their fantasy in some way. Daisy is not up to the task, and she knows it. I need to watch this show. I have not seen Jay Gatsby. I need to see this. I've never seen it before. It sounds interesting now because they've got an interesting relationship dynamic or something. Even so, Gatsby never gives up on his dream of winning her back. So even though she doesn't fit his perfect world, so to speak, he doesn't give up on winning her back. His intuitive personality trait provides the main source of his idealism, or what Nick refers to as Gatsby's extraordinary gift for hope. Thinking, yeah, he's a very thinking person. He wants to get rich because Daisy will never marry a poor man. Buy a mansion near Daisy's home so she'll hear about his growing reputation. Wow, he sounds like he's chasing this woman in this story, like trying to do everything he can to win her over, even though she'll never be enough for him. Maybe. Strange. Throw extravagant parties to draw Daisy to his house since she's a socialite who likes fancy, expensive things. Win her back because all this effort proves his love and devotion. It all makes sense on a purely logical level. It's a plan. Well, that's his thinking side of things. Judging from his daily self-improvement schedule in his youth to his elaborate scheme to get Daisy back, Gatsby is a planner. He is orderly, cautious, and deliberate. He comes up with a plan for achieving every goal, then he executes it. This decisive, thorough approach is characteristic of judging architects, along with commanders, ENTJ, are the personality types most likely to say they are dedicated and focused on their goals. Gatsby is good at spotting and taking advantage of opportunities when they arise, but on the whole, he is not spontaneous and relaxed like prospecting personalities tend to be. With each passing year that he doesn't have Daisy in his life, he becomes more determined, yet also more inflexible and resistant to change. Notably, turbulent architects are the personality types most likely to regard compromise as defeat. Turbulent. Gatsby believed in the green light, the orgastic future that year by year recedes before us. It eluded us then, but that's no matter. Tomorrow we will run faster, stretched out our arms farther, and one fine morning, so we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. We're pretty sure F. Scott Fitzgerald wasn't thinking about personality theory when he wrote The Great Gatsby, but this famous passage from the book actually captures the outlook of constant improvers introverted, turbulent personality types quite well. Gatsby believes that his success depends on his own performance and that he just tries harder. He'll achieve his goals. He has to. He has staked his entire life on his dream of a perfect future with Daisy. Conclusions: Gatsby is a sympathetic figure, and all the more so because we're seeing him through Nick's eyes. Nick emph- empath- yeah, Nick empathizes with Gatsby when no one else will. He frequently mentions the negative aspects of Gatsby's behavior, yet he romanticizes him at the same time. Like Nick, we as readers may also be willing to overlook Gatsby's flaws and remember what makes him special. After all, in the end, Gatsby is just a man in love, trying to make a better life for himself and find a place where he belongs. There's a lot more to admire in Gatsby's earnest and hopefulness than in the carelessness of privileged people like Tom and Daisy. Most readers, regardless of their personality type, can see something in Gatsby that they relate to. That's a big part of what has made The Great Gatsby so enduring for nearly 100 years. With that in mind, we'll leave you with a comment from one of our 16 Personalities community members. Even though he is no saint by any stretch of the imagination, I think he is still worthy of respect. His intelligence, his strong will and drive for success, his grand vision, he is an impressive and inspiring character in both good and bad ways. Cool. And there you go. But yeah, again, most of my friends say I'm like Walter White. I am the Heisenberg. Time to cook meth. All right. And here's some comments. Let's go through some of these. There's over 1,900 comments of INTJs having discussions about this. I'm going to read a couple of them. I've broke up with my girlfriend 3 years ago. A wise man once told me that you don't have to chase after love, but that you have to keep patient and love will find you. As an INTJ, I took this advice seriously and didn't seek love. It's been 3 years and I still haven't had any kind of relationship. Could you INTJs help me out with this? INTJs, by their very nature, are introverted. You are not going to find someone in your basement. You have to get a dating app or go outside, go touch some grass, go to a library, go to a cafe, something. Cruise the shopping malls. Try to open conversation with ladies who look available. I don't know. That's probably the hardest thing for an introvert to do, right? So if you want the easy route, do a dating app. Um, if you want the hard route and you're trying to be more social, go to the pub with your friend group. Do, you know, hang out with friends at the library. Try to be more social. And another thing that I read somewhere a long time ago, which it really humanizes it and puts it in perspective. If you're single, just think for a moment right now, your ideal partner, just think for a moment about what would they be doing right now at this exact moment? Would they be studying for an exam? Would they be at a bar getting blackout drunk? Maybe they're professionally racing horses, or they're a race car driver. Maybe they're an astronaut like you. Maybe they're busy at the library working on their career, like or unlike you, whatever it may be. Just have a think for a moment. What's another one? I'm a very deep thinker. I'm looking for ways to track first thoughts after birth through neuroscience and other types of science. My life is simple to me, but it is very complex for random people. And that's why I spent the majority of my life alone. Cheers. Hmm. I am an ENFP looking for my INTJ. So there is some discussion. I may have to find it for myself, but there is a discussion on who matches really well with you, but it's not a hard and fixed thing. I know it's perfectly normal for INTJs to date other INTJs or literally any other. You can potentially make it work. I think one thing that is most common is if one of you is introverted, it's often very complementary for the other one to be extroverted in healthy relationships. Not always. It doesn't have to be. You can both be introverts and have an incredible time. You can just chill out and just enjoy the peace and quiet of a picnic on a mountaintop somewhere, and it would be beautiful with nothing but the two of you and the birds, you know? Or you can both be extroverts going to parties, socializing, being like what they call that power couple. Like that would just be, that'd be your guys' dream. But quite often it gets interesting when you're an extrovert and your partner's an introvert, or if you're an introvert and your partner's an extrovert. And there are definitely dynamics that play really well because of that crossover. And there also are some dynamics that can actually clash because maybe one of you always wants to go partying and the other one of you always wants to go alone to whatever you're doing. So like, yeah, it gets rather complex. I'm trying to think of examples as well where you have, double extroverts not enjoying each other. Um, that's a hard one because you're both down to always be with your friend groups. Maybe like so you often hear this in some couples. They say, "Oh, she's always hanging out with her friends," or like even the guy, even the chick might say, "Oh, he's always hanging out with his friends. He never has any time for me." And then maybe either one of them is also always on the phone, always socializing, always on social media, like doing that sort of thing. So there can be strain with the double extroverts. Double introverts, they might just get bored with each other. If they're expecting something, again, it comes back to expectations. Uh, I can imagine that happening as well. The double introverts, I think most of the time it would work pretty well, but in the times when it doesn't, potentially because they might actually find each other boring. I think that's a potential. Let's go for a couple more comments. I think the most important part for INTJs to realize is that for a lot of people have creative and smart thoughts too. We need to embrace that. In many discussions, I've found that communicating with others can make my thoughts clearer, and also other people's point can definitely contribute to my thoughts. Oh, Urshkov, you're an INFP. T. Introvert, intuitive, feeling, and prospective. For hilarity's sake, I'm going to go back to mine for a second. If you read my romantic relationships, it's so. I can't remember where I saw it. Maybe it's in the intro, but my personality type is like. It's so rare that only 2% of men and roughly 0.8% of women are this personality type. And I mean, you're splitting out of 16, right? So let me calculate that for a second. So if you do 100 divided by 16, you would imagine that most would take a 6% chunk. Each of these personalities should have a 6% chunk. Mine's 2%, and for females, 0.8. It's super rare. And if you read it, it makes me laugh because it's so true. Let's do strengths and weaknesses in relationships. Rational. People with the INTJ personality type architects pride themselves on the power of their mind. They can reframe nearly any challenge as an opportunity to hone their rational thinking skills and expand their knowledge. And with this mindset, they can devise inventive solutions to even the most arduous of problems. Informed. Few personality types are as devoted as the INTJ to developing rational, correct, and evidence-based opinions. Rather than hunches or half-baked assumptions, they base their conclusions on research and analysis. This gives them the conviction they need to stand up for their ideas, even in the face of disagreement. I disagree, because these facts say so. Independent. For people with this personality type, conformity is more or less synonymous with mediocrity. The nerd stats, 100%. I've got 50% crit damage, and I've got 2000 strength, which means I need more crit damage. That's what it is. Creative and self-motivated. INTJs strive to do things their own way. They can imagine few things more frustrating than allowing arbitrary rules or conventions to stand in the way of their success. Yeah, screw them rules. Moreover, they are happy to make decisions without outside input or opinions. These individuals prefer to take matters into their own hands. Determined. This personality type is known for being ambitious and goal-oriented. INTJs won't rest until they've achieved their own definition of success, which usually entails mastering the subjects and pursuits that matter to them. They are not known for taking the easy way out. They feel that the only way to achieve greatness is to face challenges head-on. Curious. INTJs are open to new ideas, as long as those ideas are rational and evidence-based, that is. Skeptical by nature, people with this personality type are especially drawn to offbeat or contrarian points of view, and if the facts prove them wrong, these types are generally happy to revise their opinions. Original. Without INTJs, the world would be a far less interesting place. This personality type's rebellious streak is responsible for some of history's most unconventional ideas and inventions. Even in their everyday lives, these personalities force the people around them to consider new and sometimes surprising ways of looking at things. Arrogant. INTJs might be knowledgeable, but they're not infallible. Their self-assurance can blind them to useful input from other people, especially anyone they deem to be intellectually inferior. Oh my god. These personalities can come across as needlessly harsh or single-minded in trying to prove others wrong. It's so funny. Like seriously, this is me. It's honestly me. You won't you won't get a more accurate rendition than this, to be honest. Like to be honest, this is honesty. This is honesty right here. In its most rawest form. Dismissive of emotions. Yes. For this type, rationality is king, but emotional context often matters more to people with this personality type care to admit. Emotional context often matters more than people with this personality type care to admit. See, even trying to think about that, it just doesn't make sense to me because I'm like, what emotional context? Like, what are you talking about? It's such a blind spot to me that I don't even recognize what it means because it's talking about how I don't see it, but I don't see it, which is why I don't see it because I don't. You know what I mean? Like INTJs can get impatient with anyone who seems to value feelings more than facts. Unfortunately, ignoring emotion is its own type of bias, one that can cloud this personality type's judgment. Overly critical. These personalities tend to have a great deal of self-control, particularly when it comes to thoughts and feelings. When the people in their lives fail to meet their level of restraint, INTJs can appear scathingly critical. But this criticism can be unfair based on arbitrary standards rather than a full understanding of human nature. Yep, I have called people out on being a dumbass who were doing dumb shit, and maybe they just messed up. But I just Like how? And maybe in that moment I just couldn't see why, but they were just a dumbass no matter how you looked at it. Combative. People with this personality type hate blindly following anything without understanding why. So true. Every day I'm on this battle. Every single day it's like I need to know why. I need to know why I do XYZ or it doesn't make sense. Like why do I have to do it again? Why do I do this thing? Like filing paperwork and bullshit boring rules and stuff. Like why do I have to do this again? Doesn't make any sense. This includes restrictions and the authority figures who impose them. INTJs can get caught up in arguing about useless rules and regulations, but sometimes these battles are distractions from more important matters. Socially clueless. Yep. I used to joke back when I used to use some dating sites and stuff, right? I used to put on there hopeless romantic because I thought that meant that you're hopeless at romance. Apparently, it doesn't mean that at all. And it means something completely different. I just took it literally. So, anyway, INTJ's relentless rationality can lead to frustration in their social lives. Their efforts to defy expectations may leave them feeling isolated or disconnected from other people. At times, these personalities may become cynical about the value of relationships altogether. Holy shit, it's so accurate. Questioning the importance of love and connection. Man, holy crap. Yeah, it's called, okay, so it's called hopeless romantic is not someone who's hopeless at romance. It actually means something else. A hopeless romantic is someone who has an idealistic view of love, often believing in destiny. It was meant to be. Soulmates and fairy tale relationships. Like, ah, oh, you're perfect. You're who I'm seeking, who I've been looking for. How wonderful that we've met across you know what I mean? Like, it's the perfect thing. Whereas I thought hopeless romantic meant I am terrible at this shit. Like literally, I am hopeless at this shit. It doesn't mean that at all. Yeah, belief in destiny. My heart zooms ahead of reality. Yeah, oh, that's right. Yeah, so it's like the fairy tale style relationship from the movie Frozen. That's a perfect example of the sister when the prince came and the prince was lying about his interest in her just to get close to the royal family so he could take control of the town. He faked his love towards her, but because she was a hopeless romantic, she thought it was destiny. She was like, "Oh, this is the one. It has to be him. Like he is it. He is it. He is the one." So like that's a perfect example of a hopeless romantic. So, getting into romantic relationships, this is where it gets really funny. She was a bit of a, I mean, she was a fine sister. It's fine. It's difficult dealing with an ice queen when your sister is an ice queen, right? That's that's a tough one. Like how are you supposed to calm down the ice queen? Anyway, this is where it gets hilarious. Of all forms of caution, caution in love is perhaps the most fatal to true happiness. People with the INTJ personality type architects approach romance the way they do most challenges, strategically, with clear goals and a plan for achieving them. In a purely rational world, this approach would be foolproof, but matters of love are rarely rational. Consequently, they are at risk of overlooking or misinterpreting the unpredictability of human nature and affection. For these personalities, finding a compatible partner can be a particular challenge. Being innately logical, INTJs seek not just companionship, but also intellectual stimulation from their partner. It's it feels I know when I say this, it feels extremely rude and extremely arrogant. But if you are too dumb, I cannot I cannot date you. I would not go on a date with you if you are just too dumb, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's it sounds so bad. I get it, like I understand it, but it's definitely a significant part of it. Though I'd have to say, ironically, most of the girls I've been attracted to in the past were really dumb, and I don't know why. Maybe part of my brain was like, oh, they're the forbidden fruit because they're too dumb. You would never go for that. And for some reason I would go for that. And but yeah, if you're highly intelligent, I tend to be attracted pretty quickly, in that sense. But for some reason it's like the ironic opposite. I don't know why. It's weird. It's like the hypocrisy of the mind or something. An uncommon quest offering its unique rewards and challenges. I approach love like a quest. Moreover, they are rarely satisfied. They can't help but imagine how the world could be better than it already is. All the time, man. I'm thinking about AI all the time. And I'm like, when do I get to sit here and eat chips that appear out of the ceiling? Like, when do I get my when do we get the drones flying in my new, 4070 graphics card? Like, where's my where's my ray gun, to start shooting shit? And they often bring this same mindset to the realm of love. Unfortunately, if they apply a relentlessly critical eye to every potential partner, people with the INTJ personality may find themselves constantly dissatisfied. It has been a journey, I will tell you that. The woes of dating. INTJs value depth, intelligence, and unmitigated honesty. For them, a relationship that isn't founded on these values simply isn't worth pursuing. They would much rather stay single than force a false connection just for the sake of being with someone. It might not come as a surprise then that the unspoken rules and social niceties of the dating world can seem useless or even insulting to these personalities. The good news is that INTJ's honesty and refusal to play games can be a breath of fresh air when it comes to dating. So there's a major upside, yeah. We're very straightforward, very honest, very intellectual. There's no bullshit. But the bad news, many romantic conventions exist for a reason, often because they make people feel comfortable or special or intrigued. And when people with this personality type refuse to play along, they may find it dating difficult, if not impossible. See, another part of this, um, what is it? Romantic conventions. I do not follow conventions. I really don't. And that really hurts also uh, in the realm when it comes to things like jokes and humor. Someone will sometimes say a joke, and I don't know why, but I will often react in such a way that makes it fall flat, as if I didn't get the joke. But I think partly because maybe it's like someone I don't know. And if I don't know someone well enough and they try to joke with me, I won't laugh. Like I don't get it. And I'll just be thinking, who are you? Why are you talking to me? You know what I mean? It's kind of, but it's not a very playful, it's not a very pleasant personality to be around in those situations. It's like friends of friends are very hard to get along with. I've found it very hard over the years to get along with friends of friends because mostly for the first part, I'm hanging out with my friends and they happen to be there. I don't know. No, it's not that even. No, it's worse. Like you don't get how bad this personality is in a way. Like I love it because it's me, but I hate it because I know what it is. It's not because I don't know that they're joking. I know that they're joking, and if I find it funny, I should laugh. But I find the most that's also another thing as well. Like what I find funny, it usually differs quite a lot to most people. So that's a separate story. But like in terms of this being a friend of a friend, it's like if in let's say in 50% of scenarios where I would normally laugh, in 40% how do I break that down? 80% of that 50% I would also not laugh. So only 10% of the time when it was really something funny. And that 40% of that 50 where I would not laugh, I would be very judgy and I would just be judging them for trying to make that joke. But also the irony is I make shit jokes all the time and I usually don't give a shit what people think when I tell those shit jokes. So it's like, I could react either way. I could just like blank stare at them, or I might tell them an equally shit joke back if I feel like being sociable or something. Yeah. It's kind of like I understand it's a joke. I know I'm meant to laugh to make the social situation be smooth, but I don't know why, but I take the low road and make it awkward. I just make shit awkward, and I don't know why, really. But I just do it because, yeah, I don't know. The woes of dating, INTJ's value depth, intelligence, where were we up to? Unspoken rule, yeah, we're here. The good news is that INTJ's honesty and refusal to play games can be a breath of fresh air. Refuse to play along. Okay. As INTJ's personalities often learn, the ways of love are hard to describe in a spreadsheet. Yes, very low EQ. Yeah, definitely that. That's definitely part of it. Emotional, um, what is it? IQ, what does EQ stand for again? Quotient. Emotional intelligence, that's the word I was thinking of. I was thinking of emotional intelligence. Very low emotional intelligence. Yeah. Um, and that also comes down to connecting too. Like connecting with the opposite sex is just, it's really difficult. Uh, as they mature and gain experience, many people with INTJ personality type eventually come to understand the purpose of romantic rituals. So it's like eventually you learn about the EQ. When you read this, there's a really quick way to sort of summarize this, right? Autism. You know what I mean? But at least these days I'm at least smart enough to be able to joke about it, right? In that way. But before I'd be like, no, this is facts. This is all just facts. But there's another way to describe it all. It's just autism. So yeah. Until that point, however, they may decide that dating is too irrational or beneath them. So many of us just go solo. We just don't even bother dating, or it's just too bullshit, or it's just and whenever we are being flirted with, most men it goes over our heads. But if you're an INTJ, they can throw the whole building at us and it goes over our head. Again, I need to watch the video. You get it. It's worse. Some INTJs might claim to be above the silliness of dating in an effort to demonstrate their intellectual superiority. You see how crazy this is? Some INTJs might claim to be above the silliness to demonstrate their intellectual superiority. I have transcended space and time, human tradition and customs, and I am now a superior being of celibacy. Obviously, this mindset is unlikely to help these personalities find or connect with a partner. Sometimes the best strategy for someone with this personality type is to focus on what they enjoy rather than struggle against the rules of dating. INTJs are often most attractive when they aren't caught up in trying to be something they are not. There is an example of faking it till you make it. Yeah, exactly. Speed running of dying alone, basically. They're most attractive when they aren't caught up in trying to do something they are not, which is true. And many times I have tried to fake aspects of my personality, some of my interests, and things just to try and be more appealing. And it clearly doesn't work. That's the thing. Well, really, in the end, it doesn't work. Um, because like with a lot of things, if they aren't true interests, you really don't know anything about them on that level. Like I used to hang out with friends that were really into cars, and while I am loosely into cars, I cannot really have deep discussions with people about it, partly because I'm too logical and straightforward. And there is obviously one winner. It's a Supra with a 2JZ, and that's end of discussion. But like, you know what I mean? It's it's like that's it, and we're done. And or just get a GTR and you beat the Veyron. Obviously, obviously it's a GTR. It can't be anything else. Can't be. So just doing what they do best, pursuing the interests that light them up, can help them connect with like-minded people and find a potential partner. Emotion sickness. The INTJ personality type isn't known for conventional shows of romance. Definitely not. We can't be normal. That would be too normal, such as sending flowers or writing mushy notes. Most people with this type spend more time thinking about love than expressing it. But when they believe that a relationship has potential, INTJs are more than capable of giving it their all, even if it takes them out of their comfort zone. And a healthy long-term relationship is pretty much guaranteed to take these personalities out of their comfort zone at some point. Like we're guaranteed to be uncomfortable in a relationship at some point. In particular, emotions can feel like a second language. When their partner shares strong feelings, INTJs often default to shutting down or to analyzing the situation rather than listening and offering support. And when it's time for them to share the inner workings of their own heart, INTJs may feel uncomfortable or exposed. For these personalities, becoming comfortable with their partner's emotions and their own can take more than a little practice. INTJs aren't always ready to share their feelings, but it would be a mistake to think that they don't have feelings or that those feelings don't run deep. Love is rarely easy, but it's a challenge that can help people with the INTJ personality type grow. Through their relationships, they can learn to focus on the present, get in touch with their emotions, remain involved with other people, and stay open to things that they're not used to. For a personality type so intent on self-development, these opportunities can make love even more satisfying. What types do INTJs like? Yes. Is INTJ good with ISTJ? Actually, let me go back. I can tell you the ones we don't like. We don't like those wild card freaking explorers because they're crazy. I don't think I could date any one of them. I think Marilyn Monroe is in there. I think Kesha. I think like there's a whole lot of people in here that I could not date. Like so many of them. Um, is INTJ good with ISTJ? I have no idea. I know that we go pretty well with defenders. We go pretty well with advocates. We go pretty well with. I think we can go well with mediators. Holy shit! I read somewhere in the couple and the personality things that we go really well with campaigners, even just as friends. If you read the campaigner one, the campaigner is actually really funny. I should read the campaigner for a second. Holy shit, they are funny as well, but for a completely different reason. I'll get to them in a second. I really like INTJ guy. Are you sure? And I think he likes me too. We have a lot in common: music, beliefs, love for history, but he's kind of reserved. No shit. Doesn't really show his feelings. Of course not. So I don't know how to approach him or just approach him because he's not going to do it. Yeah, are you sure about that? Please help. We have so much potential. Thanks in advance. It's true. Just ask him out. Honestly, yes. If he finds you physically attractive, he will immediately say yes. If he thinks the relationship has potential for any other intellectual reason, he will also say yes. It doesn't necessarily have to be physical attraction, but there has to be a logical, intelligent reason for doing so. You know what I mean? Because we are masters of the logic and the reasoning. So he will say yes, and otherwise he'll say no. I think the problem is that you don't know what he's feeling. Blah 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 blah. What's another one? My crush is INTJ. Oh, you poor thing. But mine. Wait, my crush is an INTJ. Oh, but she's saying she is ESFP, and ESFP is, as I thought, entertainer, which we don't like because they're wild. We have communication issues, so any advice? No shit. I have two friends that have these types. They are great friends, but they often can't understand how the other is thinking or feeling. That's because INTJs are completely unfeeling and ESFPs are overly emotional and are overly feeling. That is exactly why they do not see eye to eye all the time. Easy. I know there's 77 pages of this, but that's my little insight. So I'll throw the link in chat. I find this website endlessly entertaining, so go check it out. Take the test. I highly recommend it. You'll discover something new about yourself. You know, it's sometimes difficult to break through the questions, though. But yeah, being an architect once again, 3 times in a row over many, many years, I haven't changed very much. I think the person I'm most closest to on this list, though, besides Heisenberg, is probably Elon Musk, and then possibly Gandalf. So, yeah, it's pretty much time for me to head to. It's getting late here as well. Thanks for hanging out. It was good fun. And yeah, I don't think I have much else to cover tonight, but that was awesome. It was really good fun. So I think I will leave it there as well. And so until next time, thank you guys for watching and see you in the next one.